Media Matters is a progressive nonprofit think tank in Washington, and its main goal is to sort of track and ferret out conservative misinformation in the press. And we immediately noticed, almost within days of Barack Obama's inauguration, a dramatic increase in some of the very sort of radical rhetoric coming out of very mainstream conservative press outlets. If you think back during Inauguration Week, Rush Limbaugh made headlines because he said he hoped Barack Obama failed. And looking back, that is now incredibly benign in terms of what we're hearing on a daily and almost hourly basis. We're also seeing increased in sort of, basically political acts of violence, sort of these lone wolf right-wing acts of violence. And there seems to be a connection, and we want to discuss that. There's an extraordinary increase in radical, sort of hateful rhetoric that has now been mainstreamed, and we're seeing an increase in acts of violence. And so we want to address that today with our assembled experts.
In the 1990s, you had a lot of very strong anti-government sentiment. You had people who were completely freaked out and paranoid about having their weapons taken away from them. They're very scared about what Clinton was going to do. At this point in time, we have that actually mixed with racial ideas, meaning that the election of the first African-American president has put sort of a racial tone on all of the anti-government violence that we've been having lately. Overall, what the law center is concerned about is we don't want to see the conservative media saying things like calling Obama a fascist or a socialist or a communist, all three of which I think Glenn Beck has used against him, or furthering anti-immigrant or other right-wing conspiracies that are picked up by the people who we track, the extremists that we tracked, and then ultimately serve to lend, to cause these people to commit some kind of act like Von Braun did. We're very, very concerned about this.
It behooves us all to understand that words have consequences, and hateful words have hateful consequences. If you look at the polling, not only recently, but from years past, the majority of the public, of voters, are in favor of what really is a comprehensive immigration reform solution. And yet, the way that this debate has been covered, and by providing a platform to these voices and they're gaining legitimacy, what you have painted is a debate that is completely polarized, where there's absolutely no consensus. If you allow extremist debate, then the fringe elements come to the forefront. And so what we are seeing when you look at this in the media, it's almost like those are the dominant forces. And in reality, they are not. But they need to be put in check, because unchecked, then you give license for actions that go from expressing an opinion to outright intimidation to outright violence.
The hounds of intolerance are being fed by a combination of extreme political rhetoric, the sensationalism and irresponsibility of too many in the media, and the uncertainty posed by our shifting demographics. Hatred that leads to violence is a matter of fundamental concern to the Leadership Conference.
Lou Dobbs, members of Congress like Steve King and others, Glenn Beck, Michelle Malkin, Ann Coulter, Pat Buchanan, they say the exact same things. And so while there's a strong campaign right now to distance the organizational connections between people, the one thing that links them all is their speech. What they say to incite a group of people to take action basically on Congress to stop progressive legislation from happening, but that climate, that language is also seen in the folks who act out very violently.
O'Reilly's response to Dr. Tiller's murder is part deniability, it is part distraction, and it is part defiance. And all of them are outrageous. I think there's a lesson here. And the lesson is that history has shown us that when rhetoric rises to that extreme level, it gives license to the fringe element to act violently. This is not new. History has proven this one out. And I think what we have seen is that the right, the extreme right, and many in the media, have built the culture in the tone of a debate. I don't mind a good debate. I'll debate. But when you start calling names, when you harass, when you intimidate, when you impose violence, that's when I think this country is on the wrong track. And we have not heard the call either from the media, either from leaders in this country that are anti-choice to say, stop it, because that kind of rhetoric does incite violence, and it behooves all of us, no matter what the situation. We have got to say, stop it.